Hey everybody, it's Bob Saget's here for you, and we are just moving along, trying to make people feel better. And I've got a guest that I actually love. He's a friend of mine, Dave Rubin. He's an author. He wrote "Don't Burn This Book," which is a bestseller, and he has his own show called The Rubin Report on YouTube. That's huge. It's huge, hugest show ever. And it is quite interesting. And my wife Kelly and I are friends with him and his husband David. And he is just one of my favorite people. We don't always agree on stuff. He's so knowledgeable. He was a stand-up comedian for years. We're going to get into that a little bit. I don't want to talk politics or religion with him. I'm sure I will somehow sabotage that and start off with it. He's a dear person. He's got a great mind. I'm always interested in what he has to say, because I love the guy. And again, we might not always agree, but that's what the world should be. You should be able to have a conversation and be able to love someone and not be at each other. And that's the example that he sets that I cherish. So with no further, I should tell you a couple things. You want to go up and rate, review, and subscribe, or follow. But rate, review, and subscribe. Say nice stuff. Don't go, you suck, I hate you, and then make fun of my religion. That's not good. You'll be gone. Nah, report. No, I don't do that. As if. But rate, review, subscribe, or follow. And then there's a phone number up there where I'll call you guys. And I love calling people and see how they're doing. And have you as a guest on the show. And there's a number, just call that number that you see up there or up there, wherever it is. I don't know. So with no further ado, here is Mr. Dave Rubin. So you just finished recording your show, right?
I just finished. Wait, was I recording my show today? So yes, I did my new direct-to-camera show, and then I did a couple other people's podcasts this morning. You're the third podcast I've done today.
It's amazing. You go to call. We're going right now. I hope that's okay.
Yeah, I don't know where we're going, but we're going. Let's go.
We don't. I don't want to know where we're going. I kind of have things I want to talk to you about, but we're friends.
Yes,
is the thing that is most important to me. And
you mean most important, like in terms of all of the things important to you in the world? You would say our friendship is probably like our friendship, Kelly, your kids, etc. But our friendship, pretty much. Our friendship,
the planet Earth. I would say, you're up there. You're ahead of my kids. Kelly. What am I going to tell you? I mean,
I appreciate it.
And your husband David was over here yesterday with his mother, and so I know a lot. I know a whole lot.
And thank you, by the way, for letting them come over and say hi.
No, but I didn't offer them anything. Kelly and I felt so bad. We didn't bring them water. We had masks on. We sat on the grass 12 feet apart.
I know you sat. I saw a picture. You guys were like 100 feet away. Everyone's wearing masks. It seemed to me to have the sniper aiming the rifle right at them seemed excessive, but you're taking this thing very seriously, Bob.
I told them the red dots were camera focus. It was a long lens. So you got this gorgeous set. You're in your place. You got your book all there. I happen to have one right here. Don't Burn This Book, which is backwards because that's how we do TV these days.
It doesn't really make sense to me why it's always backwards.
That's how you hold it. And look at all the post-its, which are things we're not going to discuss. Yeah. But those are things I don't want to talk about. But Dave Rubin is a friend of mine. And we how did we meet? Was it through Kelly?
Yeah, well, we became friends probably in the best way that people in this crazy town of LA can become friends.
In a sauna.
That's when we became best friends. But
right.
We became regular friends. One night, I had been doing stand-up in New York for 12 years with, as we've talked about a million times, all the successes and failures of that, and 6 nights a week and handing out tickets in neither rain nor sleet nor snow and just all the misery. And I had worked the road and all of that stuff. And when I moved out to LA, I started doing my show, which was more political in nature, and I was kind of getting away from stand-up, but I was doing it just here and there, just to.
And how long ago was that? What year was that? I know it's all in "Don't Burn This Book," which is, by the way, this is how it's actually titled. It's in Hebrew, so it's backwards and you go left to right on it. No, right to left. Sorry,
if you read it backwards while playing Pink Floyd. What's the Pink Floyd that you're listening with? Oz?
Well, also, if you play one Beatles song backwards, it's Paul is dead. That's when they had that crazy premise. And
so
Pink
we've got
Floyd,
a thing like that going in there.
but much more positive.
I hope so.
I brought up thank God Paul's alive. Sorry.
I moved to LA in February of 2013, but I started doing stand-up in New York in May of '98. So I'm not a veteran the way you're a veteran, but it's been a long time now.
Well, I'm not a veteran. I would have served the country, but I was 1 year too young for the draft for Vietnam. And my number was called. It was actually my number, but I was a year too young. And so I would have gone. I would have done this crazy thing that my cousin did, just thinking about where we are now and where we were then. And he ended up getting sprayed by Agent Orange and had a tragic death. Took many years, and he was deformed from it and stuff. But he went and he served. If you were drafted 15 years ago, you would have served, correct?
I mean, I suppose if I was drafted, knowing myself the way...
Depending on the war, though, depending on your thoughts on the war, because you look at Muhammad Ali, who the president mentioned in a speech at Mount Rushmore, and I don't know if Ali would have gone, hey, thanks for mentioning me, Donald. I don't think it would have been high on his list to be thrown in as a name, that particular, in general, because he became a Muslim and refused to go to the draft because he didn't believe in this war. So that's I didn't mean to start on something so light because you were talking about stand up, and all of a sudden I went and did it. And my whole goal was not to talk about politics, religion, and look what I've done. I've ruined a first date.
Bob, we were about to talk about stand-up, which is the most painful thing that you can talk about. So you took it to the draft and war, which is actually much lighter than the life of a stand-up. When I said that you were a veteran, I meant I'm not quite a veteran of stand-up comedy.
Let's go back to that then. Let's go back to that.
Yes.
I think that's a good idea.
I started stand-up in May of '98, right when I got out of college. I realized I needed a job, and I was like, oh, I guess I'll be a comedian. Like, that seemed like a good idea. And I honestly thought this, and it's insane now to think back, but I honestly thought, oh, you do stand-up for probably a couple months, you figure out what your 5 jokes are, and you're on The Tonight Show. Like, I really thought that was it. And then, many years later, I realized it wasn't it. And I saw, for me at least, by starting in '98, and you started you started in the late '70s, right?
Well, I started doing stand-up in Philadelphia in 1973.
Oh, even earlier than I thought.
Well, I'm 110. I'm an oak tree.
But
I won a radio contest, and then I came out to LA in '78, and I was going to go to grad school at USC for film, and I ended up, Mitzi at the Comedy Store said, hey, why don't you become a regular? So I am a regular now, but irregular. I'm an extra large.
You're an irregular, but you're a guy that shows up at the Comedy Store and they put you on stage. That's pretty good.
I'm regular, which means I eat a lot of bran. But what happened there at the Comedy Store, I should call this, but I digress, the whole podcast, is that she put me on, and all the biggest stars in the world were there my first night of comedy. And I've said it a lot because it's my rap. We all have our rap. Yeah. I've been doing a lot of podcasts. You've been doing a lot, because everyone you talk to has a podcast, no matter who it is.
You know that as of today, there are more people with podcasts than listening to podcasts. It's official as of today. I think we crossed that thing.
I think that's 100% accurate. Yeah. And the people listening are now starting their own, and a lot of actors that are not able to work right now because of work, and some work's going back for television and film, but a lot of actors are just starting them, and it's kind of a way station, which is nice to hear from some of them. But I intend to do this forever because I can, and because I love it. And just like that, I'll finish my quick thing. Then I want to talk about just how you did the Rubin report and how you segued, because that's really something interesting, I think, for the listeners. You have a huge amount of fans. Your Rubin report is gigantic. It's a YouTube phenomenon. I believe in the book the quote you have on it is it's the biggest podcast, and how do you define it? In what way?
Well, basically devoted to free speech and expressing ideas. There are other people that do talk shows that are, somewhat similar now, but we sort of started this thing. I mean, nobody was doing long form 5 years ago. It doesn't seem like that long ago, 5 years ago, but when I started it as a interview show and doing hour and a half interviews with people, nobody was doing it. And the only reason I did it was because I thought that everything else seemed so dumb. That was when Vine was really hot and we were doing 6-second
Oh my
videos.
God, Vine was the devil's work. Vine is cocaine. That's what it was.
Right. All of those things. Yeah.
Oh.
And I just felt everything's making everybody dumb.
I like TikTok.
You love that TikTok. You and Kelly are the one that got me to put Chinese spyware on my phone, which I since deleted, by the way.
It's not so much Chinese spyware now, apparently. They say they've removed that component, but we can't believe anyone. We cannot, Dave, we can't believe anything anymore. Almost anything. Aren't you finding that? You'll get guests and they'll say stuff and you'll agree with it, you'll disagree with it, you'll have a forum, and that's what I value about our friendship. We often have similar opinions, and then sometimes we don't. But the whole damn thing is that people are able to discuss them.
Yeah. Well, for the record, if a government's going to spy on me, I want it to be the American government, not the Chinese government. But putting that aside, yes, it does. I always say to you, Bob, a lot of times right when we sit down, the four of us will sit down for dinner, you'll say to me, oh, no politics tonight, or something like that. And
I started this, and all of a sudden I'm in Vietnam.
And then without question, you're the one who brings up politics. But, but I always say to you the same thing, and I mean it, which is, if we never talked politics, there's a million other things for us to talk about, which we always find them anyway.
Amphibians, cereal. What's your favorite frog cereal?
Yeah, frog? we could talk. You want to talk about cereal? I like Frosted Flakes.
Still, all that sugar.
I don't mind the Frosted Flake. I don't eat them that often, but if someone said to me, would you like some cereal? I would say, do you have Frosted Flakes?
Now, do you do the shopping for food in your house?
We're pretty 50-50. Now you have to remember, I am married to a dude. It's a little different than what we call traditional marriage, like you and your wife have. So
what do you mean? Why? Marriage is marriage, except for pence. Politics. How did I throw that in?
You did it again.
Has anybody ever said, pull down your pents? Million people.
He only goes in a room with his wife. He can't be with another woman.
And he calls her mother, but Ronald Reagan said mommy to Nancy. Well, mommy, that was a big joke. That was what they were doing on Saturday Night Live. Bob,
watch what I'm going to do here. I'm going to quickly reverse us back to the question that you asked me 27 hours ago, which was, how did we meet? Because we were at...
This is why you were where you are, and I'm sitting with a light switch. I got a light switch and a mirror behind me.
That mirror is extremely nice.
It was my mother's. She had it over her bed.
You have some great memorabilia around the house. But wait, hold on. Let's do this. I think we can do it in 20 seconds, which is, I was doing stand-up, got to LA, stopped doing stand-up, but then I was getting the itch, because once you do it, and once you're good at something, you can't not do it. And I said, all right, I'm going to do one set at the Comedy Store. And if it goes well, and it'll really be like my comeback set, and if it really goes well, I'll start booking some clubs. And you were downstairs in the main room that night. I didn't know that at the time. I was upstairs in the smaller room, but
the belly room. That's where I started.
Belly room. Yeah, and it was jam packed in there, standing room only. And I just freaking crushed it. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna dive back in, and I know this isn't why you asked me the question, but when I did my first club gig, me headlining and everything, was at the Improv in Irvine, which is about 40 minutes from us in LA.
That was so I was there for your first headline. And before that, you'd been touring with Jordan Peterson.
Yeah, so that was
kind of doing comedy, motivational, political forum stuff, right? You mixed it up?
So that was before I was on tour with Jordan. So that was my comeback show. And I think the Irvine Improv is one of the biggest ones in the country. It's, I don't know, maybe, what do you think? Like maybe 400 seats, something like that?
I think it's 5. It's like, it's either 5 or 550, something like that. Right now it's 0.
Yeah, it's -0 now. But in any event, I went sold it out, and I crushed it that night. And then I brought you on, and we just kind of messed around for a while. And the crowd didn't know you were going to be there, so it was great to have you there and just mess around and have fun. And the manager of the club, Bob, I'm going to pat myself on the back because I know you like when people feel good about themselves.
I
That's
do.
the whole purpose of your existence. I know.
And it's not ego-based. It's not ego-based. It's based on you deserve to know you did a good job. Because you're competing against yourself, really, even though it's not set up that way. Life.
Well, life isn't, but stand-up isn't either. But yeah, you're always competing against yourself. And I like that. Like, I like challenging myself to do better. But the manager of the club said to me that night that in her 20 years there, she had never seen a walk-off standing ovation. And
well, no, that's not true. She's seen my set.
She made a point of saying Bob Saget never got one of those, Dave. That was her whole point.
Dave, if you close with music like I do, it's guaranteed. There's nothing you can do about it.
That's what she told me. I don't know. That's what she told me. But anyway, that's how I got back into it. And now, you know, I don't really consider myself a comic anymore, but I can. You were there. Like,
you could be. You could be. And a lot of the things you talk about are what about 2/3 of comedians are talking about right now, because it's impossible to do stand-up. It's so funny. Jim Gaffigan will still be doing his stuff about food and family, and on stage, he's not doing what he did with his freedom of speech tirade that he semi-apologized for, but I thought it was very brave because that's how he felt, and he gave his reasons. He's just a wonderful guy, frankly, and was stating his thoughts. What did that spring? Oh, wait a minute. Okay, I'm going to reset.
I got it. I got what happened there. I know what happened.
Okay, so here's the thing. I know you do. But what people might not know, and I saw your very first episode back, but what happened, and if your viewers, if my viewers, my listeners, I mean, who's viewing and listening? People are listening mostly. They have to see this. And what episode where would they find this episode where I'm just going to tell them you'd been off the grid for a month. You did
31 days, no news, no TV, no phone, no nothing. And I came back, and Michael Knowles, who's one of the hosts at the Daily Wire, he interviewed me for about 2 hours and just laid it out. I didn't know that Kamala Harris was VP. I didn't know about the Israel-UAE peace thing. I didn't know about that crazy explosion in Lebanon. I didn't know about more of the riots and the rest of all the litany of crazy things that happened in August. I had no idea. And he told me everything, and then I went home and I bathed for hours.
How did it feel? And then I feel like everybody should get off the grid, but you can't as a citizen because of where we are in life right now, in time. Did you time this month off knowing that, okay, it's when I'm back, it's going to be 6 weeks till the election or whatever?
Well, so this is the 4th year that I've done this thing for a month. So I've done it 3 previous times. And ironically, as crazy as everything is in the world right now, this was the easiest one. Even though I knew I was going to miss the most and the craziness was going to ramp up and all that, this was the easiest one because in years past, we've either been traveling or if I'm mostly home, you know, TVs are everywhere. You go to the gym, they got CNN on. You go to get a burger, they got news on. It's all over the place. But now, because no one's going anywhere, I was home. We just moved. And I spent a month unpacking. I did some reading. But basically, there was nowhere to go. So there was no threat of being given the news. And when I went out to the supermarket or something, I've got a mask on and a hat and sometimes sunglasses, so nobody recognizes me, because in years past, people would see me in the store and be like, oh, right. What about the thing that happened today? And I'd be like, no, I'm off the grid. So it was actually a lot easier this year, and I love doing it. First off, because I love doing it if for no other reason than it's shocking to people. Like the fact that you're interested in it really shows me that it is something.
It's something attractive. It's something, because frankly, last week, I started to shake. I started to melt down from all of it. And even right now with the fires in California and with the black ash that is going to cover the state. It's covering the state. And it feels so much this year like the end of days to so many people when you see anarchy, when you see people wanting to do the right thing from a good place, and then people from the far extreme left and the far extreme right. I just wish that everybody could talk like we talk. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't even categorize myself. And then one day you told me, Bob, you're a libertarian.
Yeah.
I think
Well,
I'm a libertarian because I try to drink less. I'm trying to protect my liver.
Are you trying to drink less? I'm trying to think when the last time the four of us saw each other. Wait a minute. The last time I think we all saw each other, we were at that Mexican joint in the valley. I can't remember what it's called, but
no, we were on the rooftop. We were on the rooftop in Cedar City Mall, and I drank because I didn't care for some of the social distancing because I wore a thing and a visor and a mask and walking through the place alone. I could know that someone could just droplet me. They could just snotch on me, and then I
could sense that people were looking to get you more than the rest of us. They thought,
I believe that.
There's Bob Saget. You know, he's got the Full House cash. He's got the America's Funniest Home Videos cash. How do we take him out? Can we sneeze in his direction? But it was my birthday. You came out for my birthday.
Well, I love you, so I wanted to be
wore the hazmat suit. You had your security guards keep everyone away from us.
None of that is true. I didn't have. Well, I only had one guard, and I brought an extra hazmat suit just in case I farted through the other one.
But we did.
They're very thin.
You guys actually bought me a great bottle of tequila for my birthday, which then we opened up at the table after we had drinks anyway. So you may be trying to drink less, but I don't think on that particular day.
Well, I was actually using the alcohol for what people use it for when stress is so great, rather than just deal with their feelings and go to a program.
I thought you were doing it for sanitation purposes, because tequila will clear out almost anything.
It does kill everything, and Clorox, Windex, and I think those little blue discs that you put in your toilet, if you eat them, I think that'll kill the coronavirus.
Oh, Bob, you trying to get yourself canceled? That's the clip. That's the clip. Saget tells people.
I choose the clip. So here's the thing. So you're off the grid.
Yeah.
And now you're back on it. And he's giving you the information. But I must say, he is delivering it. And this is really what I want to talk to you about. Not the news, not politics, but how people broadcast it, how people say it. And that's the problem. That, to me, is the problem with everything is... medium is the message, Marshall McLuhan said, which means if you're looking at your news on your iPhone, it diminishes it, which really isn't true because it's about content. But you were being interviewed, and he was very smart, very knowledgeable, but he did skew everything he said toward his belief system.
Well, he's a conservative. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Right? Like, I mean, if Michael was with us at the moment, he'd say, "I'm a conservative. I'm giving you."
But why do eyes have to roll when you say, "And this happened," where that 50%, 40% of the population doesn't feel that way? So why do people that have completely different belief systems, don't have the same experiences, weren't raised, in very underprivileged places, can't really relate to what it's like to be a white person wanting to live their life and a black person who's been downtrodden and angry over years of stuff. But when it always comes at me from the news, from anywhere, doesn't matter what network, I watch them all. I watch CNN, Fox, MSNBC, C-SPAN. I like local news. A tornado hit. Thank God,
Your next door neighbor hates you.
It will be that specific one day. But I just think you don't do that. You just don't do that. And that's what I love about you. You just state the information, and then you know what I'm saying, right? You know what I'm...
Well, I appreciate it. And look, first off, I just want to be very clear about one thing. I don't consider myself a journalist. I am not a journalist. I tell people what I think, for sure, and I interview people. But a journalist to me is someone who's out in the field, actually ascertaining information, talking to individuals that are part of whatever the news story is. But I don't think I'm a journalist. And by the way, I don't think someone like Anderson Cooper is a journalist. I don't think the ladies of The View are journalists. We're talking heads.
It's an op-ed piece. All of it.
In effect, it's op-ed. So I've actually found that in the last like year or so, and especially since my book came out, interviewing people has gotten a little more difficult for me because more people now know what you can literally ask me anything and I'll tell you what I think. I may not be right about it, but I'll tell you what I think about anything. But what's become a little bit harder is that Larry King, who's both of our friends, and he's become a mentor to me and like a bonus grandfather.
And I'm wishing him good health every day.
And always wishing him good health. Actually, this is slightly morbid, but I had a list of 3 things that I could be brought back on the grid from my guys. I said there are 3 things that if they happen, I want to know. And I love Larry, and he's been so good to me. And I said, if something happens to him, I want to know, because I don't want to wait 3 weeks to say something.
What if he gets laid? You want to know that?
I wanted to know that, and I wanted to tweet about it. If Larry got laid or anything related to Larry.
Do you know when Larry has sex, he goes,
Houston, hello.
Hello, Ohio. You're much quicker than me. We're going to take a quick break. It's going to be short because I love short breaks. I say it's going to be short, but I always say that, and then I surprise people.
I'll stay here.
Okay, I've talked about this thing before, and I like this thing. This is something I like. It's Policy Genius. You might know about it. You might not. Well, I'm going to tell you a few things. September is National Life Insurance Awareness Month. But with everything going on right now, a lot of people aren't even aware if it's possible to buy life insurance at all. Well, the good news is that it's still easy to shop for life insurance right now. And if you have loved ones depending on your income, which you probably do, you probably should. Right now, you could save $1,500 or more a year by using Policy Genius to compare life insurance policies. When you're shopping for a policy that could last for a decade or more, those savings really start to add up. All right, what is Policy Genius? You asked. I know you did. I hear you. I'll tell you what it is. Policy Genius, it's an insurance marketplace. It's built and backed by a team of industry experts. All right? Policy Genius is an insurance marketplace built and backed by a team of industry experts. Here's how it works. Step 1, head to policygenius.com. It's pretty simple, policygenius.com. In minutes, you can work out how much coverage you need and compare quotes from top insurers to find your best price. Step 2, apply for your lowest price. That's what a lot of us do, right? Step 3, the Policy Genius team will handle all the paperwork and red tape. There's red tape everywhere. I've got it all over my house, but that's a different story. Policy Genius works for you, not the insurance company. So if you hit any speed bumps during the application process, they'll take care of everything. They even have policies which allow eligible customers to skip the in-person medical exam and do it over the phone. That kind of service has earned Policy Genius a 5-star rating across over 1,600 reviews on Trustpilot and Google. So if you need life insurance, head to policygenius.com right now to get started. Right now. Why wait? You got a computer near you. You could save $1,500 or more a year by comparing quotes on their marketplace. Policy Genius. When it comes to insurance, it's nice to get it right. We're back. So these are great breaks.
That was good.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, who doesn't want that?
I needed that. I needed to breathe for a sec.
Now you have a gorgeous background.
Where the hell were we?
Well, we're going to get there, but you have a great background, and I have this thing. I've got a little more COVID hair than you. Not that I have COVID, but I call it COVID. I should say quarantine. But I think we have the same shirt on. Who makes your shirt?
Oh, I'm glad you asked about this shirt. There was this podcast sponsor that we had. I don't know if we have them anymore, but I'm telling you this, having nothing to do with sponsorship. This is literally the most comfortable shirt I've ever worn. It's from a company.
Not my shirt. Go ahead.
It's called Buttercloth. Do you know about these people?
Yeah, well, you can do it with any cloth. You just, you put on it.
You just butter it up, I suppose. Yeah. It is the most comfortable. I can't tell. It breathes. Now I know it. When they say this shirt breathes, I know what it means now.
Are they a sponsor? Dave, are they a sponsor?
They were a sponsor once in the past. I don't know that they're sponsoring anymore, but I would.
Oh, they're going to sponsor now. I mean, you're wearing it. You're talking about it. I thought we had. I've got a Xenia on, right? So it does what it does. I have like 40 of them because that's.
Are they a sponsor?
Of course not. Xenia? No, but I got a discount just because they like me. But I haven't I don't even know if they're open. I don't know how these places are doing, man.
Nobody knows what's going on. We're trapped in our houses like rats. You're right, actually. I mean, joking aside, I've been busy in the studio all day, but I did walk out for a second right before we started just to try to get some fresh air, ironically. I mean, it smells like fire outside right now.
It is going to waft through the whole state and into other states. And I have friends in Sonoma, and they are living under ash. And they have to turn their lights on to drive during the day. That's what's going on.
Man.
And so we just wish them all well, because it does really feel like the 10 plagues. I mean, and everybody's at each other. So that's, I think I was talking about how much I enjoy the way you're saying you're not a journalist, but I love how you're able to broach issues. And I might not agree with you, but then I think about it. I mean, it opens my mind up to at least think about it. And I think that's the solution. I think that's the solution for politics. Did you freeze? I think you froze. Dave, it's the funniest freeze of all time. You might have to sign out and sign back in. It's so funny. You froze with the weirdest look on your face. I might just talk to you like this. I'm going to text you, Dave, because you froze so funny. We're going to use some of this. We have to. It's just great. I think you have to sign out and sign back in. You froze very comically. There's my friend.
God, I missed you.
Tilt the camera down a little bit so it matches. Is that a computer? Oh, no, it's you sitting up. I see.
It's me leaning. I'll sit up. You
don't have to sit up. Whatever we were doing. So I was telling people, I want to show them, anybody that sees this on YouTube, we're back. And when you froze, I'm going to send you the snapshot. Off of this Zoom, you're going to laugh your ass off. It looked like a ferret seeking some kind of refuge. It was sensing danger. It was you had your teeth kind of. It's the best. I wanted to just keep it running for a while, but there's Murphy.
We had a good froze shot of you too, because you were.
Did you?
Very, very. I'm filleting the microphone kind of thing right now.
That's why I wear the windscreen, because I want people to know that I'm safe.
Nice.
And when I started the podcast, it was before quarantine, but it was right when the shoe dropped. And they started to say, okay, we're going to give you a brand new everything. So nothing had been touched by human hands. And so this mic I'm the only one this thing only smells because of garlic chicken one night.
Is there anything worse than like those types of technical problems? I mean, put aside genocide and all of that kind of stuff for just a moment.
Right.
Putting aside those things.
Loss of a family member.
That sort of thing. But when you put those things aside, is there anything worse than just like your internet going out and then having to reset the router? And you were texting me,
it doesn't bother me at all.
Blue button. No,
it doesn't bother me at all. And I actually kept everything running. I could have stopped everything, but I kept it running because having directed some movies, everything goes wrong. You know that, if you're doing a shoot, whether it's a quick one or a long one, your things are going to go wrong all the time. And so Murphy's Law is part of your life. I just knew it would come back. I don't know how. I have a very positive, and I feel that way about where we're at in our lives right now. I have a feeling
it will.
I will, and I just don't want this violence and anger to escalate. That's the fear that is coming.
Well, it will too. So I'm going to give you it wills on both. So it will get better, but it will get more violent and more angry before it gets better. I see no way around either one of those. It will get better because humans have existed for millennia, and we've gone through horrific things that are far, far, far worse than what's going on right now. And we've had better times of more flourishing. And this is just what the generational churn of good ideas and bad ideas and all of that stuff is about. And we just happen to be in what for us feels like a particularly weird spot, because in your, whatever it is, 60 years on Earth, and in my 44 years on Earth, it's like we don't really remember something this crazy. But let's not forget, I mean, the Holocaust was within our life, within our parents' lifetimes, in effect. So,
and people sat back and let that happen. And that's why all of these. What I loved about your book, inside of it, you say you're not a Nazi. That's a chapter title.
You're most likely not. If you bought my book
It didn't say you're most likely not. It said
I pretty much go out of my way to say you're not a Nazi.
No, it said, don't worry, you're not a Nazi.
Yeah.
Now, and that's on
called
page...
poetic license, Bob.
Right, because I tell you, there is a Nazi that read that.
Some Nazi read it.
They sat there and said, I'm going to burn this book. You also said something which is only myself, one Jewish man to another. Are you 100% Jewish? Are you half Jewish?
No, I am 99.7. I mean, I ddid the thing.
What's the 0.3%? What happened there?
I don't even think they threw anything in. They were just like, Jew.
It says Exhibit C, you just paid about $20 to learn and take on classical liberalism, an ideological... I can't read.
Bob, slow down, for God's sake.
An ideology that is fashionable back... Anyway, you said the book was $20, and you didn't know when you wrote it that it's $27 for the hardcover.
You know how it works.
I found, in fact-checking, that you were off $7, Dave, and I think that's pretty major that I've debunked this.
Well, you're going to have to take that up with the people at Penguin Random House. I don't know what's going on with the pricing, but I love when I get people that hate me. They'll find my book in a store and they'll see like 30% off at Target, and they'll see, you see, Rubin's book is 30% off because nobody's buying it, even though whatever New York Times bestseller, blah blah blah. But
it just means there's more copies.
That's how the publishing world works. The whole system, they have a very intricate system, you know this.
Of course.
Of how they price it, when they put it on, some level of discount, and then how that affects all of your kickbacks and everything else. It's just whatever.
I have a question for you. Working with Random House, who you probably had a good experience with, I would imagine.
Yeah. There were some bumps in the road, but it was pretty good.
There are. I wrote a book called Dirty Daddy, and Harper Collins. At that time, we were a smaller subgroup, the book publishing company, and I had a wonderful editor, and I wanted to talk in my way of talking, which is not good English. It's almost a Mark Twainish type of vernacular, or trying sometimes a lot of ain'ts, a lot of conjunctions, and just plain speak the way I talk. And that was the biggest argument I think we had. But Random House, why can't they choose a house? Why do they have to be random?
And what the hell is the Penguin doing there? It's all very confusing. You're a Penguin guy. I know you're a Penguin guy. So
I made a movie, Farce of the Penguins. I love the Penguin.
I know. So I don't know. I thought maybe you'd have more insight.
Penguin inside a house that's just random because they can't really get the permits to let the penguin live in a permanent house.
Right. Or they don't want to be prejudicial towards any specific penguin, so they just let any penguin in. It doesn't matter what your beliefs are, what your background is.
Right.
You're welcome in this random house. Well, penguin.
And a penguin is a symbol of black and white being together.
Much like the black and white cookie.
Correct. I actually, in this movie, I was in it. It was a stock footage of penguins. We just bought stock footage. The mouths didn't even move with CGI.
Bob, I've seen the movie.
Oh, you must have been so stoned.
I was extremely stoned, actually.
Yeah, you have to. That's the movie to see.
It was when I was smoking weed to laugh, where now I just smoke weed to fall asleep. That's the difference now.
Well, this was like the new Bill and Ted out. I guess you have to be stoned to truly enjoy the reminiscing and silliness. But this was myself and Christine Applegate and Tracy Morgan and Monique. And so there was a lot of race discussion, but nothing offensive, nothing that comes off. It holds up today. Unlike other things, like you couldn't make Blazing Saddles today, people always say. You couldn't make even The Jerk for the themes. But I think you could, but you got to be very careful. It would need some work.
No, but that really is the danger. I mean, think about it, Bob. You are one of the most well-known comics of the last 3 decades, right? And you've been in a million great things.
Thank you for reading that.
And you're still, according to this, still doing great things, funnier than ever. And thank you for sending this to me right before, by the way.
Well, you had a lot of downtime.
But the idea, we've talked about this a little bit privately, the idea that you have to think a little bit more now about what joke you may or may not say because that mob exists is seriously dangerous. So like Blazing Saddles to me is the perfect example of this thing. Blazing Saddles, yes, do they say the N-word a million times in it? Yes, they do. There's no doubt. It also has the greatest fart scene in the history of movies. But every joke, every racial joke in Blazing Saddles is not a racially pejorative joke against black people.
No, it's actually in defense.
They're making fun of...
Cleavon Little's your protagonist. And with Gene Wilder, they are taking on the racists.
They're taking on the racists.
And that was for Richard Pryor. So Richard was a writer in the room. That's why he got a credit. And I talked to Mel Brooks about it. And he said, I can't, they talked about it for Broadway after doing Young Frankenstein, after the producers, and both were huge successes. And he said, I can't do Blazing Saddles. It can't be done. And then the jerk, Steve Martin, was raised by a black family, so he considered himself to be black. And there's no one of greater heart than Steve Martin. But I think that comedians are in a different group for the most part. For the most part, comedians flock toward comedians. And I guess you'd say they're a more liberal group in general, but there's plenty that are not, that are very right.
But this is where I would say comedians, when you asked me before about what is a libertarian, basically. I mean, a libertarian, the most simple definition of a libertarian is live and let live. With like a little more technical would be you believe in individual rights, meaning that everyone should have equal rights under law, and you don't want the state really doing anything. I actually think that most comics really, in their clearest minds, are libertarians in effect. What is it that you as a comic, it's 1973 and young Bob Saget is getting up there going, I want to do some funny stuff. I want to express something that is in
Mine
me,
was just
right?
demented. Mine was going purposely.
But you're saying I'm me, and I want to express it, and then the reaction you get hopefully is laughter, because then that maps some reality to the world. You can go, oh, I exist actually, because something that's happening up here, I can express in a way that makes people laugh, which is, it's the best.
And there's an interchange with an audience that is just unbelievable. There is something, and I get to do it soon. I am in a couple weeks with Kelly. It might even be a week from now. I'm not sure, because I just don't know what time is anymore. I'm going to go to Dave Chappelle's comedy camp. Dave texted me and invited me, and I get to be among the fortunate few wonderful people that I will be doing stand-up for like 3 or 4 nights.
Wait, live? You're going to actually do this?
Well, we do it outdoors. He's been doing it. If you look it up, that's what you weren't informed of what happened. Dave,
I did see one video. He did, Kanye or something was there, and they did something.
There's been a lot of people have been going in, a lot. Chris Rock was just there, Kevin Hart, John Mayer went in, Bill Burr. I just talked to Bill the other day, and Bill said he wants to go back in a week. It's just, you go there, you actually go rafting or kayaking. It's camp. And then he has barbecues, but we all are out there to do stand-up. And I don't know what I'm going to do. I do know that not unlike how I dress in my pants, I lean to the left. Just by nature. I don't want to talk politics, but I do want to talk about the general thing that we almost touched upon. And let's take a quick break before we do that, because it's important to me. A lot of us don't want to run errands. We don't want to go places. We got to do mailings. We got to send stuff. We got to make sure that the post office gets it. We got to make sure we have stamps. And you know how you can get them? I'll tell you how. It's something I really like. It's stamps.com. As we slowly adjust to a new normal, we still need to be smart about how we do business. Now, luckily, there's stamps.com to make things easier. Thousands of small business owners have discovered the benefits of stamps.com in recent months. They've been able to keep their businesses running and avoid the crowds at the post office, all from their own computers. So with stamps.com, you can print postage on demand and avoid going to the post office. Who doesn't want to do that? And you'll save money with discounted rates you can't even get at the post office. Stamps.com also offers UPS services with discounts up to 62% and no residential surcharges. Stamps.com. what they do is they bring all the mailing and shipping services you need right to your computer in the comfort of your own home or office. Whether you're a small business sending invoices, an online seller shipping out products, or just working from home and need to mail stuff, Stamps.com can handle it all with ease. Simply use your computer to print official U.S. postage 24/7 for any letter, any package, any class of mail, anywhere you want to send it. Once your mail is ready, just leave it for your mail carrier, schedule a pickup, or drop it in a mailbox. It's that simple. And like I said, with Stamps.com, you get great discounts too. 5 cents off every stamp and up to 62% off USPS and UPS shipping rates. And like I said, with Stamps.com, you get great discounts too. 5 cents off every stamp and up to 62% off USPS and UPS shipping rates. Stamps.com is a no-brainer, which works for me because I don't have much of a brain. Stamps.com saves you time and money. Now, right now, my listeners get a special offer that includes a 4-week trial plus free postage and a digital scale without any long-term commitment. Just go to Stamps.com, click on the microphone at the top of the homepage, and type in Bob, B-O-B. That's Stamps.com and enter Bob. So Dave, we're back, and here's my biggest. We've always been lied to, all of us, since the beginning of time. Mankind has lied. The guy, the cave guy went over to the other cave and stole the pelt, and then his wife said, "Where'd you get it?" And he said, "I skinned a buffalo," where in fact he lied and he got it from the guy next door and he stole something that the guy really needed, that pelt. Now you add the internet.
Yeah. The internet plus the pelt. Ugh.
And then we hear this guy lying. Turns out he runs for the king of the troglodytes. He's the king, because he had that pelt that he stole. So I'm in a place right now, just in a sociological place, that I can't be lied to anymore. I can't take it. That's where I started to boil over, which means I needed to disengage. Now, how can you defend all the lying that's come out of the White House these past few years?
How can I, meaning Dave Rubin, or how do some people do it?
Well, that's interesting to me. Both. I'm interested if you don't mind.
Yeah, well, so first, how do people do it generally? How do people defend lying? I mean, I think that it's sort of the example you gave about the pelt is sort of the right one. People defend what they sort of think is right, and you kind of look the way when you think you look the other way when you think it's something happening on your team, and you always pounce when you think it's happening on someone else's team. That's just the tribal nature, partly, of being a human. As for, I don't think you said his name, but I think you're talking about Trump, if I'm not mistaken, Bob.
Yes.
Yes, Trump.
Junior.
Trump Jr. Listen, I like Junior.
I know you do. I differ with you on that. I don't know him, but I can't tolerate him. Did you watch the RNC clips? Did you see that?
Not many, actually.
You should Google it.
I watched a couple of them. But look, I can tell you just on a personal side, I like him personally. He's actually pretty funny and fun, and we've had dinners, and I've enjoyed being with him. But
real quick, and I'm not a TMZ guy. I'm not a chatterbox. I hate it all. I hate it.
Yeah.
The Kardashians are going off. Thank God. That's lit the fuse on all this insanity. Kind of.
I just
one
saw
of the
that.
contributors, right? So, I mean, but it's still anger rhetoric, and it still reminds me of the rich kids from Miami that just do coke all night and invite you to parties. And yes, I've known them, and yes, I've gone to those parties in the past, but I don't want them as friends because they don't stay friends. And I know many, many people like that. And I know a guy who's a friend of Donald Jr. and he's still my acquaintance or something. I'm not mad at him, but you like.
Well,
the guy.
first, I would say it's a slippery slope to sort of. We're all friends with different people from different walks of life, and I've got a couple sort of very far lefty friends that can still tolerate my radical positions of centrism and free speech and things. But I try to have. I try to have.
You know how you did that just now, though? You didn't eye roll. You said it. You were being sarcastic because you're not centrism and free speech. I mean, who can argue that?
I eye rolled there.
But people go like, my whole thing is that people of this generation, especially, are going like, you'll say to them, and I've said this a couple times lately, you'll say to them, have a nice day. And they go, no, you have a nice day. Everything is so caustic. So back into how your personal feelings on this, and then how people defend the lying.
Okay, so first, when it comes to lying in general, all politicians lie. Barack Obama, who was the hero of the left, we could go through the litany of massive, massive lies that he did. If you like your health care, you can keep it. If you like your doctor, you can keep it. He has admitted.
Meanwhile, we don't have a better plan right now. We're still using his plan.
But that's secondary. I'm happy to talk about that too, but that's secondary. If we're just talking about lies. But what Obama did was he lied to us in a way that we're used to being lied to. It felt very professional. He was handsome and had nice teeth, and it looks like he actually bangs his wife.
And a great speaker. A great speaker.
No, and a great speaker and a great orator.
And I don't really give a shit if I care if I'm getting lies. I hate the lies, right? We don't even know how Kennedy died, whatever. We know that we landed on the moon, and we know there was a Holocaust. Anybody that doesn't think so is just, it's sad for them. But I just need the leader of any country, and my country that I love, to look into the lens, to talk to all networks, and not just hold conferences and rallies and be backed up by the mob, and tell the people that it's going to be okay. Not make it up, but read a good. I could write a speech right now that would get Trump reelected hands down. If he would just say, look, I've made some mistakes. He did it my way. You mentioned it in your book. And I did it in my book too. I mentioned my way.
Oh,
and
you mentioned my way? I
did the
that.
lyrics. I mean, but that's the one of the issues. So how, again, I keep interrupting you. I'm so good at it.
All right. So defending the lie. So first off, well, I would put it this way. I am not some crazed like MAGA hat wearing Trump supporter in that sense. But I think that basically he's unmasked a lot of the liars. And I think it took a liar to do it. It actually took someone who had to come from the New York, Jersey commercial real estate world, which is deeply corrupt and overregulated and all sorts of bad elements, and do it for decades.
He lied his way through that also.
Listen, I'm not saying he didn't. I'm not saying there isn't shady stuff on his tax returns. But you know what? If he had done something illegal by the IRS, he would be in jail. I think he used the system. So it's when a lot of people will say, "Well, Trump and his tax returns," it's like, well, if he did something illegal, he'd be in jail. So what you're angry at is the system. And if you're angry at the system, that we have an insane tax system, I agree with you. And I lay out in the book, I'm for a flat tax. I would have everybody.
I read that to Kelly 5 times because I don't think she thought that's where you land.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think
so you were saying 18% across the. Why don't you lay it out right now?
Yeah. Well, I think basically the way you should do taxes isn't this insane tax code that we know literally nobody knows. And then the government has to hire a gajillion people to manage this ridiculous code that nobody understands. I think you do a flat tax. So basically what I lay out in the book is pretty much everybody can pay 18%, but if you make under 50 grand, you get a free ride. I don't even think that's totally right, but I think that would be the way of helping the people.
You can barely live. You can barely live on that these days.
No, but you can keep as much of your money as possible. But otherwise, everyone pays 18%. And to even throw the lefties a bone, I would be willing to tack on a couple percentage points for the super rich. I don't think it's the right thing to do, and I don't think it's moral or even economically correct. And I would recommend reading a couple books by Thomas Sowell if you want to know more about that. But I would even do that just to show that I'm not some crazed right-winger. I'm throwing the lefties something, which is you want rich people to pay a little more? Okay, they do. But what they do, so when you say, well, Obama didn't lie in that regard, it's like, well, they would always say that the rich don't pay their share. The rich pay all the taxes. Poor people pay virtually no taxes, and rich people pay ton. Like it does. It's
relatively to them, it's a lot. A school teacher is paying.
I'm for lowering her taxes. I'm for lowering everybody's taxes.
Would that be called socialism by some people?
To lower taxes?
Yeah.
Why would lowering taxes be?
Well,
socialism?
I think socialism is tax the rich and not the poor, and you're suggesting to not tax people under 50 grand.
No, so that's why I'm saying I think that's what I'm giving the lefties. I don't even think it's totally right economically.
But that's what I like about you, because and that gesture is a deal. So
yes,
that gesture,
that's what politics is supposed to be.
It is supposed to be in the room where it happens, and then people together, they haggle, and they bargain back and forth, and they go, I'm not giving you that much. Well, we're just going to stay up all night for 3 days until we figure it out.
So I'm glad
that's what's not happening. That's what we're not doing.
I'm glad you picked up on that part, because that's exactly why I wrote that chapter that way, because I thought, all right, when you say flat tax, people think it's some right-wing scheme, but I do think it's right because it's the most just way of doing it. But then I said, okay, well, I don't want to do something that's purely right, because then I'm going to alienate all the people on the left. So I said, all right, what can I do to show them that I'm flexible here, that something makes sense? So I did two things. I said, well, A, if you're under 50 grand, you get no tax. So that helps. I believe that helps the poorest the most. And then I also, as I just said, if you're super rich, I think I said at 5 million, basically you bump up 3%, something like that.
Right.
And that was my way.
What did you go to? 28%?
No, I think 21%. I think it's 3% more. But I had a lot of debates with this. I talked to a whole bunch of economists about this. That's why I can't even remember the number off the top of my head, because it's not really about the specific number, other than to say the huge bulk of us will pay exactly the same, and then we're going to give relief at the lowest, and then people who have it really good, you guys can pay a tiny bit more, even though I don't think there's any economic model that proves that is actually correct. I think there's economic models that prove that doesn't work.
But there's also fairness, especially with what's going on right now, because people aren't being heard. Nobody's hearing anybody. People are deaf to each other. And if you open it up with your suggestions, that's a great first draft of where people could work from and go back and forth and not walk out of the room angry and not be screaming at each other and not be questioning senators and not be listening to idiot senators, and let people, you have to listen. Sorry, that was mean. You have to listen.
Well,
you have to listen to everybody. You have to listen, but you have to listen to the left. And the right is making their point very clear. I mean, it's incredibly clear. And the left, the points aren't exactly as clear, except things aren't fair. But getting back to
nothing's fair. Life's not fair.
Right, but they don't want to hear. No one wants to hear that.
No, they don't want to hear it. So
no one wants to hear that. But global warming's real, and I like the idea of going to electric cars and working on that and putting millions into that. And I'm not hearing that from the Republican Party right now. And
yeah, but one thing you are hearing from the Republican Party right now is that they are really trying to push everybody to go big on nuclear, and the Democrats don't want to do it. And that's a huge problem. Nuclear is safe. It is clean. I mean, there's a zillion studies on this.
Hiroshima was safe?
No, of course there's been some accidents, but
they dropped a bomb on people.
No. I meant there's been some accidents. There's been some nuclear accidents. Nuclear bombs and using nuclear power are two very different things. It's the same technology that starts the whole thing. But all of these things are the things
how many Chernobyls does it take until you go, I don't think it's worth the risk?
That's for us to debate, right? That's for us to debate. You're right. There's been basically three, I think. Massive
3 Mile Island.
Yeah. And I think there's Chernobyl, 3 Mile Island, and
I think that's enough to say no thanks. So that is a very strong debate. And you can't jam it. You can't jam it down people or do tricks. So back to the lying. How did you feel when you watch all the sound bites that have been put together, obviously, for political purposes, because we're where we're at? So you could watch both candidates guffawing if you make the right amount of clips and do what they're doing, because that's what they do. But it's just worse than it's ever been. It's a cage match. We're in Thunderdome. This is Mad Max time. This is going to be tonight, the debates.
I would kill to get Tina Turner involved in this situation. Wouldn't that be
just
great?
swinging, and she just beat the shit out of people. She was awesome in that movie. If you haven't seen Thunderdome with Mel Gibson,
yeah, it's great.
and history will remember him both wonderfully and terribly. It's so interesting. So, what do you do with the lies? What do you personally do? Don't you watch the TV and go, "Oh God, why did he say that? Why would he say that?"
Of course, but I think the difference is that you have to understand that you basically have. We think about it as sort of Republicans fighting Democrats as if it's just an equal playing field. It's Republicans, Democrats, let's wrestle. But that's not really what it is, because it's Republicans versus Democrats and mainstream media, meaning that this, Bob, everyone on CNN, Don Lemon and
Don
Cuomo,
Lemon is, he's an op-ed piece also. He's just giving his opinion.
The point is, Wolf Blitzer and Don Lemon, they're all Democrats. They're all Democrats. Mainstream media, we know this, and not only mainstream media, 90% of academia, they've done studies, is left-leaning liberals and Democrats. So when we think that we have an election and it's just Democrat versus Republican, it's really Republican versus Democrats, institutional media, academia, et cetera, et cetera. Trump just went in and was like, I'll just wreck all of you, because when the Republicans tried it the other way, like I bet you probably, even though you're not a Republican, you would probably say now that Mitt Romney is a pretty decent guy, or that John McCain.
There are many, or John Kasich. There are many
but guess what?
Republicans
They were
that
all
I would.
Losers. They all ended up losing. I don't mean losers.
Don't say losers right now. This is a bad time for that bullet point.
No. I don't mean loser. I don't mean loser I interviewed John McCain. I think he was a very decent man. And John Kasich I've interviewed, and I liked him a lot too. So I don't mean loser like whatever, but meaning they did not win an election. And Trump, I think, saw that and was like, I will fight dirty, because that's the only way that we can get this thing to be equal. And I think why everyone's freaking out right now is he actually did it. Now, you may not like what he did.
But it's getting dirtier to hire a guy and remove mailboxes and all that stuff. That's pretty dirty. I've got 40 mailboxes in my backyard.
Yeah. Listen, we just moved, but in my old house, you may have seen me put it up on Twitter. We had Nest outside so I could see who was coming. And we had people stealing our mail all the time. And I was screenshotting people doing it. So, the idea that somehow
why would they steal your mail?
I don't know. They do it for credit card fraud. They do it for identity theft. A series of other reasons. Yeah.
Back to mail-in voting, since we're not going to talk politics at all. Hit it.
Yes.
What is your mail-in voting take?
Oh, I think in terms of doing it for this election, it's completely insane. Why would you take a totally polarized country and then say, on top of everything else where no one trusts the politicians and no one trusts the system and no one trusts anything, and also let's change how we vote in the exact same time, and let's make it much more susceptible
but we're in quarantine, so we've got older people that can't even go anywhere.
So then, you know what? If you're over a certain age, then if we want to figure out some modified version of mail-in, or they're going to come to your house or something like that.
Too late for that. I mean, we're
but the idea that we're going to revamp our whole system when no one even trusts the system. Or that one of the funny things about the Democrats is they'll always tell you that everything's wrong with the system if only the system had more power, meaning give it more money, tax people more, do new election related things. And it's like, oh, but the guy that you hate is in charge of the government, right? So if Hitler was in charge, as they call him Hitler, it's like maybe you would want to scale Hitler's power back a little bit. That's a great libertarian argument, which is if you scale back the guy's power. If it's the guy you love, he can't get everything done that you want. But the trade-off is if it's the guy you hate, he can't completely upend the system. And that's why I think the people that care about liberty first, just limited government, get the government out of my life, keep more of your money. I don't care what you do with your life. You can't do it on my property.
This is the most, but this has been the most upsetting time that any of us can remember in a long time, because everything happened at once. And the pandemic is, of course, on his watch. And then, of course, the tapes that came out and all that stuff. It's so much, and they always say it's a lot to unpack. It's like, just travel light, carry a duffel bag, I
just use an away bag. That's all I have.
Why is everybody unpacking?
I did a whole tour with Jordan across Europe. I had one thing that I brought on the planes. That's it.
So you know why they're unpacking? They're afraid to unpack because they're in a random house. I want to say some things from your book, because I love your book. I actually do. And
I will allow you to quote me.
Yeah, because it's really good. Here's something. Well, it's a chapter called "Embrace Your Wake Up Call," and so you've gone through changes. See, you've come out and talked about them, and you opened the book with talking about coming out as a gay man, and how there were some difficulties in that, and that was very noble and brave. Part of me said, I mean, it's your book, but I was like, I love Dave. It doesn't make any difference to me, but you want to get it off your chest because it was huge for you, correct?
Yeah, well, it was, it's one of those things where it's like now, I mean, David and I, and we hang out with you guys, and I don't think you guys are like, oh, we're going to go hang out with our gay friends. Like
That's what Kelly says, but I don't look at it that way.
No, I know Kelly's obsessed with it, but you're okay with it. But nobody really cares. And by the way, that's what equality is about. That's what true equality is, not this new thing that's coming right now. But true equality is I'm treated equally under the law. And then I want no special treatment the same way, Bob, you as a white heterosexual guy get no special treatment. And that's just fine. We're equals. And that really is all that's there. The reason I mention it in the book is because I sort of juxtapose the idea of coming out as gay versus what I think is one of the biggest problems we have in the country right now, which is I think people are politically closeted. They're just afraid to say what they think, not because they're Nazis, but whatever they might think on a particular issue is outside of what is mainstream acceptable. And, when you're closeted about anything, if you have a thought, you're a guy that talks for a living. It's like, I know you. If you were really thinking something, Bob, you would have a really hard time.
No, it comes out. Unfortunately, it has not always been a benefit for me. But
no, I mean, and there's going to be consequences sometimes. So I make a point of that in the book. You might start saying something and you could pay some price for it. But I think the idea of being closeted about any set of thoughts, whether it's your sexuality, your political beliefs, your religious beliefs, or lack of belief, whatever it might be,
there's so much hypocrisy.
That's deeply dangerous.
It is. You're correct. There's no doubt you're correct. And you can quote me, but people are very hypocritical. The people that are, saying, I mean, people are telling us that America is a Christian country. That's the rhetoric that seems to be coming. And Mike Pence doesn't believe in homosexuality. You're not going to go to dinner with him and his wife. Or maybe you'd be the exception because you've talked to people that he likes.
Well, if I was invited by Mike Pence to his house to have dinner with him and his wife, or to a restaurant, I would go. And I would want to question him about these things.
I wouldn't, because I heard she cooks with a lot of butter, which is...
I'm doing a lot of keto stuff these days. Butter's good. Butter's a good fat, Bob. Don't fear the butter.
That's what Kelly's been giving me. She said to stop eating, I can't believe it's butter. Don't eat that.
No, it's not butter. You can't believe it's not butter.
No, I can't believe it's butter.
Oh, you eat, I can't believe it's butter.
Yeah. And you know what it is? It's butter.
Yeah, it's just butter. That's a good brand for a butter. The butter people should get in on that. I can't believe it's butter. What is it? Well, it's butter.
And here's something you brought up that I promised myself. I said, it's going to be so great. I'm going to talk to Dave. We're not going to talk about religion or politics, but here I have you, and you stimulate my brain. You're talking about people that can't come out of the closet on their political beliefs and their religious beliefs. But a lot of people, Dave, don't have the mental wherewithal to do anything but follow the crowd. They don't have the ability to follow their heart on what they believe. They're not, God bless them, but they're not smart enough. And I'm not smart, but I know what I believe. And if I'm educated on something, it's easier to choose. But they're just going with the crowd. They're just going to the rallies. They're just going, wear a mask. You're taking away my human rights. That's just,
Bob, what's the subtitle of the book? I think you have it in front of you there.
Yeah, thinking for yourself in an age of unreason.
That's the point.
But they're not.
But I close the book. I close the book by saying to people, I'm not trying to convince you I'm right about all these things. Bob, I'll be friends with you forever. It doesn't matter if you agree with me on the flat tax. It doesn't matter if you agree with me on abortion. What would matter, I suppose, at some level, if you were rabidly anti-gay marriage, let's say, and you wanted to legislate against it, it might.
I don't have that gene. I know you don't. I have no understanding of how people can look at other people of a different race, religion, or anything. I can't look at anybody as they're just another human being to me. And I basically wake up in the morning wanting to love all humanity. And what we're facing right now is people that are angry. And I respect Ben Shapiro. He's a friend of yours. I have watched him, of course, but I wish I could just sit down with him and say, will you talk at half the speed?
Well, listen, I like Ben a lot. Him? Well, I have told him he should slow down a little bit, and I joke about it all the time. But look, Ben has a religious perspective on gay marriage, a biblical religious perspective on gay marriage, that marriage should be a man and a woman. But he's not legislating. He's not fighting for legislation that would overturn same-sex marriage or anything like that. But to that point, it does, and I've said this to his face, it does put a cap on what my friendship can be with him, because there is some
Of course
piece,
it would. Of course.
So I can be friends with him, especially in the public sphere. I think we want to live in a very similar country and fight for a lot of the similar things that I speak about just a little more slowly than he does.
And you don't come at it with anger either. And that's another thing.
Yeah, I'm not angry.
But if you watch Ben, no, you're not. You're a loving guy.
Pick my spots.
I've never seen you not be. I might not have agreed with you, but you weren't coming from anywhere but a good heart. I'm just talking about with the Ben Shapiro and the way he projects it. It's the anger that's off-putting to me. When I spent time. I was James Carville. I was the host. Roasted him at the Kennedy Center, and Al Sharpton was there, and Tucker Carlson was there, and a bunch of people. And Tucker seemed very nice. He was self-effacing. He made fun of himself. And when I watch him on TV, I just feel so much hate. I'm getting hate, and I can't take the hate anymore. And it's
interesting. I know you and I don't see eye to eye on this, which again is obviously fine. But it's like, I don't really watch MSNBC anymore. But if you watch Joy Reid or you watch even Rachel Maddow, there's a lot of hate there.
No, I know that. I agree with you.
Yeah,
well, it's not even guised. It's not guised. I agree. I watch all news because I want to know where everybody's coming from. But and I feel the hate and I feel the eye rolling from people. Not that she's not a brilliant broadcaster either, because she writes it and does it. And well, that's subjective because you're not a fan.
Yeah.
You're not a fan.
I think
a lot of people, would not react well to me saying that. All I give a shit about is that in this book, you got a lot of praise, and you got praise from, some of the usual suspects, Ben Shapiro, Tucker Carlson, Larry King, Jordan Peterson, but you've got frickin' Eckhart Tolle.
Come on.
When you get Eckhart Tolle, I just go, I'm not worthy. That's an idol. I worship. He went through hell. He went through mental hell. And I think he is a human hero.
I'll tell you, one of the best, I think, when I'm 95 looking back at the whole damn thing, I will never forget this moment. I'm driving down Coldwater Canyon. You've been there a million times, that little park on your right-hand side. And my phone rings. I don't recognize the number. And I usually would not pick up the phone when I don't recognize it. I usually don't, because it's just a scam or whatever. For some reason, I picked up the phone, and there's this voice on the other side, and he's very soft-spoken and like a little gravelly and with the accent. Dave, this is Eckhart Tolle. And I couldn't believe it, but I knew it wasn't a scam. And he said some incredibly nice things about what I'm doing and why it's in line with what his message is, and that I've tried to bridge some of the divide and it's not easy and blah, blah, blah. And he said, I'd love to come on your show and talk to you about this stuff. And I actually pulled over. I was like, I can't even drive right now while I'm talking to this guy. And I'm actually the fact that I could get him on the same blurb on the back of the book that I got Tucker Carlson, like who in their right mind would think, oh, you're going to get Tucker Carlson and Eckhart Tolle on the back of a book? And I guess that says that I've done something kind of right here. It ain't perfect, but it's kind of right.
It's wonderful. It's wonderful. Kind of right if you take it the wrong way.
it's kind of far right. I think that's what I'm saying, Bob.
But you don't look at yourself as a person from the far right at all, correct?
No. Bob, I want everyone to live equally under the law, period. I want the government to stay out of people's lives. I don't care who you sleep with. I don't care what you smoke. I want you to find something in your life that gives you passion and purpose and all of those things. And that's really all I want. But unfortunately today, saying that is thought of as sort of a right or somehow a far right position.
No, it's pretty much saying, give peace a chance. It's pretty much.
No, of course, but
it's actually a prayer in some ways that we could get to that.
Of course, because as I always tell you, Bob, you're an old school liberal, and I think the hardest thing it is to be right now.
You call me that, and I go like, what?
You're an old school. You're a free speech liberal. I mean that in the best sense.
Why is that a liberal, though? I'm a free speech guy.
No, because when I say liberal, I mean it in the best sense of liberal.
But I was raised in Virginia where people would call me a Jew, and I was treated badly with racism. So,
that's not to say racism doesn't exist.
Is that what forms a liberal? Is that what?
Well, in certain respect, I think the reason why so many modern Jews are liberals in the good sense of liberalism is because Jews know what it's like to be the other. So once you are the other, you can say, okay, well, I want everyone to be treated equally because it's self-preservation, right? Like yes. you want everyone to be treated equally. There's a reason.
I've always wanted that. I was raised that way. My father was be kind to everyone. Yeah. And it doesn't matter who they're, and if they prove otherwise, if they prove that they're going to hurt you or they prove that they're going to be malicious, get away from them.
But by the way, I'm going to guess that the reason your dad said things like that to you and wanted to impart that on you is because he probably got called, oh, there's the Jew in Virginia. Well, no, not in Virginia, but he was a Depression kid. So he raised his 5 siblings and he was 12. So he comes from a place where people were jumping out of windows over the Depression. I dare to say that this is up there with, one of the worst times. So what I would say to that is when I say you're an old school liberal, I mean that in the best sense, meaning you I think in essence are live and let live. You want people to be happy. And unfortunately, because the left has gone so bananas with identity politics and all of these things, being an old school liberal is no longer really a tenable position. So even though someone like you, who you obviously really don't like Trump and all those things, when they come to cancel you one day, when somebody's knocking on your door,
and they have.
No, but guess what? But guess what? It's not going to be people on the right. It's not going to be Trump supporters.
Oh, I'm well aware.
It's going to be the lefties, and that's why
it would be Trump supporters as well if I was spewing anti-Trump rhetoric.
Not really, though. Not really.
Well, I get hate stuff. I mean, you can and you can't.
Yeah. But, I'm not saying you're not going to get everyone gets anyone that's public gets random hate from people. But I mean, the day you make some comment about something and then the mob is really there. And by the way, I said this to Bill Maher. I've only met him twice. I know you guys are friendly. One time years ago, I said to him, Bill, I was at the after party at Real Time. He didn't know who I was, but I said, my name is Dave Rubin. I'm a comedian. You've been a huge influence on me, blah, blah. We started talking for just a second. I said, Bill, just a friendly piece of advice, watch out for the left. And he goes, I've got the left, nothing to worry about there. And it's like, who wants to cancel Bill Maher right now?
He's been very open about that. Yeah. And you missed a month of shows where he is, in some ways, some people are mad at him that are you pandering to the conservatives? Because if you're going to talk about this stuff, you're going to get attacked, period.
But it's because he's an old school liberal. So who hates an old school liberal? Every time Bill Maher gets in trouble now, it's from the left. And you know what happens? The right, and I see this all across the board.
Well, not necessarily. The president tweets what a piece of garbage he is, and
it's been a while. No. Okay,
for Bill, that's a badge of honor.
No, I know. It's like, by the way, I always say to people when I'm talking about this sort of thing, I grant Bill Maher and Rosie O'Donnell the longest leash when it comes to Trump because he's personally gone after them.
Right.
If Trump tomorrow tweeted Bob Saget is I would have a personal problem with it, and I would I would grant you the longest leash possible if you went completely insane. Like Rosie has kind of gone insane.
I might go on a rant like Jim Gaffigan did, which we started to talk about. Did you read all that Jim did?
So it was while I was off the grid, so I did see it after. And, he's totally, at least in a public sense, completely apolitical. I think he's missing the mark on a lot of this stuff like that. It's just how I feel about it. I think he's not understanding what the real landscape is right now. Trump's not coming for anybody, Bob. Trump's supporters aren't coming for anybody.
David, while you were gone, he was also telling people to, he was condoning a 17-year-old with a machine gun in a state where he shouldn't have been, and he shot 2 people, and the police said, go on by. But that was at the same time that there were other people that were being killed by the very far radical left. So, but you can't condone that. You can't condone that. And then he comes back and says, I don't condone any violence. I mean, he's got an angry mob, and he could say, this election's rigged.
But there is no angry mob of Trump supporters burning down buildings, ransacking police stations.
That's accurate, but that's
all lefties. I mean, that's just
there
the
is
truth.
an angry mob of Trump supporters taking their parade into a Black Lives Matter protest, sans the rioting and looting on one occasion, where they purposely went to it to do what? To start a fight, to make themselves known, and to bully a bit. And
well, you're allowed to counter protest. I mean, you can't do it violently, but you are allowed. If someone's having a protest, you can counter protest. But look, here in LA, when we had that crazy week where they were just burning down buildings and destroying West Hollywood and a lot of places that you and I know, it's like every place was boarded up and it said Black Lives Matter and all the slogans on the outside. But they didn't really mean it, because what they were saying was, we're going to print your slogan on our store window so you don't destroy our store. And we're doing that in the name of tolerance, right? Like, that's actually bananas.
Which is fear. There's fear coming from both sides. Fear from both sides. Fear from both sides, which is Trump saying they're coming for you. They're going to come to your neighborhoods. They're going to get your housewives, which is always a positive way to view a woman at home. So that there is fear all over the damn place. And that's what my dad would be against. That's what I'm against, is fear mongering. And
so I think, and this is exactly what I say in the book, I think the only way that you get out of that is that you have to roll back the power that the government has over all of us. If the government doesn't have a tremendous amount of power over all of us, and we just have more of what we earn, and you care about the community that you live in and things like that.
And so many people do,
then
Dave.
We won't be
so
that
many
hysterical.
People. Right.
Yeah. We won't be that hysterical. But when you give a system so much power, and then the system can make you feel anything or can take from some and give to others and all that, well, then there's a reason to be angry all the time. But if you really just were in charge of your life and your property, and if we took everything to a more local way, which, by the way, was exactly how the Constitution was set up, and federalism and states' rights and all that, we wouldn't be so angry. But you know what? People that live in Idaho want to live differently than people that live in California. It's just reality.
I don't know how. Do you see this all being completely different in 2 years? Or does it fall on this election?
I think what happens here, well, I'll give you the reason I'm a world-weary optimist. As I said before, I'm world-weary because I think the world is tough. It's a tough place, right? But I'm an optimist because I don't know otherwise how I could do this.
Well, you come out crying and they slap your ass. I mean...
Right, exactly.
It's so like, welcome to life.
World-weary optimist. Here you go. Exactly.
Enjoy yourself, you little bastard.
What I would say is this. You're not going to like the first part, but I think you'll like the second part. The first part is, I do think Trump's going to win, and I think he's probably going to win pretty big. Because I think the average person that's not particularly political is looking at the chaos, and they're going to go, all right, if my choice is chaos and burning down and defunding the police and all that stuff, or this guy that I think is a little weird and he's orange and I wish he wouldn't tweet, but he's going to kind of keep the wheels on the machine, I think they're going to break for him. it's very hard for me to picture somebody who voted for Trump last time being like, okay, I'm going to vote for chaos. It just doesn't make sense to me. That would be one thing. So that's the part you're not going to like.
But I think. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah,
I'll reserve my questions to the end.
Yeah, the part that I think you will like is this part, which is after 4 more years of Trump, I think that the ice will have been so broken, the iceberg that has sort of sat on top of us has been, when you were talking about they've lied to us forever, whatever whatever they is, that thing is,
it's him and his cabinet.
No, but when you say they've lied to us, you mentioned JFK, meaning that there's a machine that exists,
yes,
that has always lied to people, and maybe it has to exist, right? Like maybe some force has to exist to keep us, not like animals, basically.
Well, him saying I wouldn't unveil the fact that I knew that the coronavirus was much more dangerous and then hiding all that is similar to Jack Nicholson and A Few Good Men saying you can't handle the truth.
But I think there's actually some legitimacy to that.
I knew you were going to say that. That's why I teed you up.
Colonel Nathan R. Jessup, you can't handle the truth, meaning that to keep the wheels on the machine, we have to do some stuff sometimes that you guys can't know about. Trump was just a little more honest about it. Of course it's true. Everyone knows it's true. You don't think Obama knew things that he sometimes couldn't say or could say or this or that? Like
every single president.
Absolutely, they all do. So I'm glad you actually made that reference because I've been thinking about it the last couple of days, that in essence, that's what he said. You can't handle the truth. And he's sort of right. Imagine if he got the memo. Let's just try it this way. Imagine Trump sitting there, coronavirus, we're in March, he gets a memo. 20% of the American people are going to die within 3 days. You think it would be the best thing for him to do is get on TV and say 20% of you are going to die in 3 days? Or unfortunately, perhaps have to massage that a little bit. I mean, there's a great ethical debate that we could have about that, is what would be the just and moral thing. Well,
you guys have to take these precautions because we're going to lose some lives. I think it's his obligation. That's his, and I think he needed to put federal things in place that he did not, because people can take the pain. We had 9/11. Yes, it was in one city, but it was, or a couple cities, but it was attack on our soil. People deal with what they're dealt. As David Mamet wrote, we play the cards we are dealt. If you tell the American people the truth, I think they can handle the truth. I do.
Listen, I want a government to be as transparent and truthful as possible, but I also know that, first off, I'm more of a states' rights guy, so I was happy with letting the states do most of the stuff and then figuring out where the federal government jumps in. But imagine if Trump, right at the beginning of this thing, had been like, all right, I'm handling everything. Well, look, you hate Trump. Why would you want the guy who you hate, who you think is incompetent and a buffoon and a liar, to handle everything? You'd still be angry at him now, right? Like that, and that's the inherent problem. We all have, hindsight is 20/20. But what I always say is, you don't want to give the guy you hate that much power.
I don't want to give anyone that I would call hate. It's unhealthy for me to hate him.
Yeah. So whatever word you want to prescribe to it, then.
Well, some libertarian thing that you would design. What was the good news? The bad news was that you think he's going to win, but I'm not sure about.
Yeah,
I'm not sure, because I also hear the opposite. I know some people that know some people, like some people that know people.
But do you know anyone that is truly an enthusiastic Biden supporter?
Yes.
That doesn't? People that are truly that think that Joe Biden has the acumen and the mental wherewithal, and that he's truly physically okay.
Well,
and that's the man that should
you can look. You come up to speed when you're in the office. He's older. I think that the debates, they're probably going to have to mop the floor because there's going to be both of their feces on it. They're going to have leakage. Yeah. These are not kids. And when they get mad, they're probably going to have some kind of shart in their underwear.
But do you think something is wrong with Biden cognitively? Do you not think he has the beginnings of dementia or something like that?
I don't know. I think I did for a little bit get concerned, but if you watch tapes from film from 40 years ago, the man is admittedly a stutterer and has trouble assembling. But he was vice president for 8 years. Nobody ever heard that. He ran for president. He's had 2 brain aneurysms. I'm not being glib about this or sarcastic or anything. I think that he. I had 4 this morning. It was pretty serious. Okay,
so here you are.
But don't you think we've always had? is not the first time we've had the lesser of two evils, where people go,
oh yeah,
it's always the case, always.
Can you see what's going on here? I've got 18 drinks with me when I'm with you, Bob. I've got coffee, I've got water.
I drank a metal tube, prototype wild energy tea, danger too powerful for most mere mortals. I just drank witch's brew. I have no idea what this. Kelly had this in the fridge. She gets a lot of shit free.
And you're drinking.
Well, I'm drinking water now. I'm trying.
Look at you drinking out of it. All right, so here's the good news. You want the good news?
I do.
Here's the good news, and this is what I really think, is that regardless of whether you think Trump's evil or bad or good or great or whatever,
or a liar.
I think we get all of those things. I think we get 4 more years of the craziness that we're in. I don't see a way we get out of it.
Well, don't you think something else could happen that's unforeseen, just like when your internet went out, that something could happen unforeseen and he could possibly get impeached again if he does something that's really obviously the Kane mutiny, that is obviously Nixonish, and it's done.
Well, yeah, okay. So putting aside that, yes, could he be impeached again? But that's what I'm saying. Even an impeachment would add to the chaos of the next 4 years. I think we have, no matter what happens, I think we have 4 more crazy years. But here's the silver lining.
How are people going to live through that? That's what I'm asking. What would cause? I look for the least amount of discomfort in my life. When people don't give you love, you stay away from them. You know, you go to where the love is, as a friend of mine told me.
Well, I would say perhaps to a lot of people is watch a little bit less news. I mean,
I agree.
If that's what you need, then watch a little bit less. I mean,
do you wish you were still off the grid right now? Is it part of you?
No, because I love this. I love it. You know, when I'm off, I'm very happy and I'm more patient and I'm calmer and there's a more sense of sort of inner peace or something, which especially after a few weeks, it really kicks in. But then when I'm back and I'm doing this with you, like I do love this. I do love this.
I love this too.
I know you do. I know you do. We're 2 people that I think ultimately want the same thing, that in some ways see the world very similarly and in some ways see it a little bit differently. And we're doing our dance right now. And hopefully there's some people watching this going, you know, Bob's making a good point on that, but Dave's making a good point on that, or they're both fucking idiots or whatever it is. But that's sort of the beauty of it. So and
then they finish eating their dog.
Is that what most people are doing?
We don't know. Well, I got to take one last quick break because this will be This is a long one, and I'm looking down below the lens.
Okay.
All right, we're back. That was our last break, and that will comfort some of the listeners, but I'm loving this. You have a different viewpoint to me than most people because you're able to meld so many viewpoints. And you've always intrinsically been like this, or you were more left, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a little hardware versus software. I think I'm sort of wired like this, just, you know, it's just how I am. Like,
when you were younger, you were a Democrat man. You worked. Did you work for Bernie? You were an intern or something?
No, I was an intern at the Daily Show.
Oh, no, but I thought you worked for a politician.
Never worked for a politician, but I was an intern at the Daily Show, but I was a Bernie supporter. I mean, you can find videos of me from 5 years ago supporting Bernie. I'm not very proud of them.
And the point is people change. That's
the point is people change. You wake up, your eyes open, and you know, you feel differently about things and you learn differently. And also, you know, as an interviewer, it's like if I sat across from some of these scholars and academics and all of the brilliant people that I get to talk to all the time, if I felt exactly the same about the world in 2020 as I did in 2015 after talking to thousands of seriously often brilliant people. Not everyone I talk to is brilliant, but you know, a lot of them are. It's like, how depressing would that be if nothing changed me. In 5 years, I'm exactly the same. Like,
there's no human growth. But that's what I think is true of a lot of people. They made up their minds before Donald Trump was even a candidate. They made up their minds. And so did the people that made up their minds, I'm not going to vote for a person like that.
Right. So
we've never seen a person like this either. That's another unusual thing.
You can't change everybody, and I don't think it's my job to change everybody. But if I can affect whatever that sliver of people who are somewhat open-minded, and if I can get them to, again, do what the subtitle of the book is, just think for themselves. You don't have to come to every conclusion that I've come to, but if you look at the numbers and you're like, Dave said this thing about the 18% flat tax for almost everybody, but I do want more, say, social services than he wants. So maybe it should be 20. And then we can battle that out. That's a beautiful thing.
That's the beauty of all of it. That's what I want.
Yeah. Yeah.
But okay, here's something. I'm going to stop this because some people are going, I listen to this all day. Why am I listening to this now? But I think this is a different way to address it because it's me that's not as educated as you discussing it, which makes it so incredibly.
I think you're. Where did you go to college? I feel like I know.
Temple University.
You went to Temple University?
Yeah, I was a film student, which means I didn't study political science or medicine.
Didn't William H. Cosby also go to Temple University?
He did, but he didn't graduate, and they gave him an honorary doctorate, which I think he has pinned above his cell.
I've told you this. It's very depressing for me. He was my comedy hero.
He was mine. He was mine, but he was mad at me for cursing. He always was mad at that. But I think if you get it done on stage and you don't do it in your real life, that's maybe a little better.
Yeah. But what does it tell you when your childhood hero becomes the largest or the biggest serial rapist of all time?
This has happened a lot. It is the cancel culture, often justified now. People are tried. People don't even care about the hearing. They read about it, but they already made up their mind on Twitter. The video already came out. The audio already came out. The 50 accusers already came out. And as much as that doesn't allow for the due process, we make up our mind. We're done with what comes out. Some of it's wrong, and some of it's right. So
due process, it ain't bad.
No, it's not a bad thing at all. But people can't wait for it. They want immediate vindication. The question I have for you is there a news network that exists now that you would want to have your show on? Is there something with a larger audience? But you have a large audience now.
Yeah, no, not really. I've gotten some interesting offers over the last year and in the last couple of months, but there isn't. I love what I'm doing. I'm my boss. I'm not going to cancel myself. I run this thing, and what comes out of my mouth is the stuff that's in my head, for better or worse. But I treat my team well, and in return, they work really hard for me. And I'm trying to build something that we can have everybody be part of and grow. And I don't send, look, I'll tell you this. I know you don't love Tucker Carlson, but when Tucker Carlson walked into my garage, now I've moved since, but the old Rubin Report studio, he opened the door.
What did he steal?
He took my Bob Saget Dirty Daddy book. He would have liked
one of the chapters.
He opened the door and he goes, holy fucking shit, you did it right. This guy is paid, I have no idea how many million a year. I'm going to guess it's got to be about $5 million a year.
He's the number one broadcaster right now, right?
Yeah,
he's not a broadcaster. He's a
yeah. Well, it's the number one cable news show in history. So this guy has all the accolades you could want. All the people with all the levers of power, they all watch his show. He's on every night. He has a huge audience, and he walked into my garage.
Right, but he loved it because he's saying you get to be your own speaker.
And in the inscription of his book that he wrote, he said you're doing it for all the suckers like me who are still in an office. And I thought, wow, I really did do something right. Like that's pretty awesome.
But you must admit he is spewing a lot of hate rhetoric that causes unrest. You don't think that lights a fuse on that for people? I do.
I don't think so. You'd have to give me a real example where he spewed hate. He gives a counter narrative to what you're getting at a lot of lefty media, but I've never heard him say something bigoted or hateful. I haven't, and I've interviewed the guy many times.
The tone is, I've never heard him say, I understand the meaning behind Black Lives Matter. But he's never said anything like that. He's never said all he's done is make them kind of the enemy is the tone I get.
Well, I would say the Black Lives Matter organization,
right,
the organization itself is very different than the idea of the movement. The organization itself
so why can't he say that?
I think he said it before. He has said it before. You can find some clips. But again, this is sort of part of the problem because it's like it's not your job or your desire, Bob Saget, in life to have to watch Tucker Carlson every night for an hour to figure out exactly what he said.
I can't. I'll lose organs week by week. So I need some. I haven't had any in a long time. It's been a while. I've been not drinking as much, which has been good for me, actually. So the question I have is, what if there was a new channel? What if there was like a centrist channel, a libertarian channel? Not that that's what they would call themselves.
Yeah.
The centrist channel. What if you and a few people...
The centrist channel, nobody's watching.
But something that was kind of in the middle, actually giving, you would be within actual news programs. You would be able, there would be an hour of news that would be Walter Cronkite news. That would be the news that is just the fucking news. This side said this side said this. I'm not getting that too often. Although,
I don't know.
Although to the credit of what's going on right now, both on CNN and Fox, they have been running not as sometimes I'm able to watch both networks without the eye rolling and they're showing clips from Fox and Fox is showing clips from CNN and there isn't commentary. There isn't sarcasm. And it's not often, but it's there. It's actual there because people do want to be journalists. Yeah. And so that's when I get relief from that. And that's what I want. That's how I want my news.
Look, the cable news people are in the business of making money. Most businesses in the business of making money. If you're watching a channel thinking that they're in the business of truth, you're a little confused as to what the business of business is. Right. Business is to make money. So Fox does it from a right-leaning perspective. MSNBC does it from a left-leaning perspective. And it's unclear to me what CNN's perspective is at this point. But basically, I would say I'm not really, it would be very hard for someone to offer me something that I really want at the moment. I'm very content with where we're at. I think we're growing something nicely. You know, I've been doing a 3-day-a-week little 24-minute news thing where I do 2 or 3 stories. We just started it last week. And I try to talk about things in a kind of fun, a little sillier, more decent manner. And that's my way of contributing that. But Bob, and watch, because I'm a guest on an interview show, how I can get this back to the question that you asked me 87 times that we never got to, which was, so how do you get out of this? What is the thing after the bad thing? So, okay, you get 4 more years of Trump, and then here's where I think the world starts resetting. We get to the next election, and I think what will have happened is that all of the old systems that we're watching crumble right now, academia, media, they will have the reason everything feels crazy is because they're in the midst of crumbling right now. These things will have pretty much crumbled. And then I think what happens is on the Republican side, you're going to get a seriously diverse, not only by gender and skin color and sexuality, but a diverse set of ideas of people that will run for office. Now, you may not love all these names, but I think you'll see it's a pretty diverse set of people. You're going to get people like Dan Crenshaw and Nikki Haley and maybe Candace Owens and a series of other...
Candace Owens talks too fast. She's gorgeous. And she and Ben Shapiro together, I thought, who's on Adderall? I've never heard people talk this fast. And I don't agree with a lot, but she's compelling. She's definitely a voice.
I can tell you this, Candace, I know Candace really, really well. I was probably the person more responsible for putting her on the map than anyone because I put her on my show when she was a little YouTuber. I love her. I adore her. Her husband's great. We were at their wedding. We've had 1 million dinners with them. Next time she's in LA, all of us will go out. And I think you'll find her to be the most kind, decent, fun. Yeah, she likes the political fight. She does. But
is that because she's not getting enough at home?
I think she's doing all right. She's 6 months pregnant, by the way.
Well, that's why. I mean, you got to be careful.
But anyway, what I think happens after Trump...
She's got a lot of charisma. I just don't... Okay, what happens after Trump? I got to interrupt real quick, and I never thought I would do this. But what about the people that unfortunately are being heard because of some violence? And that's what the takeaway from the right is, and from most people. Nobody wants to see the violence. But what about the people that have been unfairly shot by police, that have had a history of it and life? And what about the intentions behind Black Lives Matter? This would throw them all behind. It would say we're not listening to what's such a relevant social issue right now.
Right, but the issue here really is that the road to hell is paved with good intentions. So I'm not sitting here telling you that everyone protesting is a bad person. Black Lives
Well,
Matter
they're
as
definitely not. I mean,
no, of course they're not. Of course they're not. And I certainly don't want to impugn their motives. I think a lot of the people are confused about what the issues are and are misguided. And I think they're being manipulated by the media and a bunch of other stuff.
I think that of the far right as well. I mean, I think it's a mob.
That's fine. So if the answer, so if your question is, when in the cases of legitimate police brutality, what do we do? Well, of course, it's like any organization. It's like anything that's going on in your household on a daily basis. If it's not as clean as it could be, you could do a little bit of a better job. Like, although your house is very clean, by the way. Every time I've been there, I've always found it to be very, very clean.
Well, I was Danny Tanner. I had training.
Exactly. But and by the way, you hear this from people on the right all the time, that when there are cases of legitimate police brutality that we see, that of course the officers that are involved need to be dealt with, and we should look at whatever the policies of those police departments are and everything else. But I think the movement itself is not good. Go on that Black Lives Matter website and see what they're talking about. They're talking about the destruction of the nuclear family. They're talking about Marxism. They're talking about disassembly of capitalism and a whole bunch of other stuff that the average person has no idea is being imported under the guise of tolerance and diversity and the rest of it. And by the way, they don't strike me as very tolerant and diverse. I mean, do you see a lot of tolerance coming out of these people of other ideas? I don't think so. I mean, you see a lot of things burning down and statues being toppled. But
have you seen the statues? They're made like those Easter egg, remember those bunny rabbits that were hollow inside? I mean, the statues were made of tin.
It's odd to me that it's so easy to take down a statue.
There was a storm that took one down. I mean, that's a symbol right there. It's made of nothing.
Yeah, but you know what? I used to say to people, my opinion would be you don't take the statue down, but what you do is I would be okay with one of two things. Either you put a counter plaque next to it to explain it. So let's say it's a Robert E. Lee statue. You could put something next to it to explain the nature of slavery and the South and all that stuff, or you could put it in a museum. The problem is now they want to burn down museums. So there's like a whole series of things there. But should I get there now? Should I get there?
Yeah.
I'm going to get there, which is this. After Trump, the reckoning and the carnage and all the stuff we've talked about, people will be exhausted by it and we won't need it anymore. And then what I think is going to happen is that the Republicans are going to offer a really interesting, diverse set of group of people that I think will not need the outrage, will not need this craziness. And I think that's going to be really good. And then what I hope, and I'm a little less hopeful for this, but what I hope will happen on the left is that the last adults in the room, the last old school liberals, and there's not many of them, I hope that they will finally stand up against identity politics, against the new woke crew, against the squad, AOC and Rashida Tlaib and this crew of people. I hope they will stand up and then reset the Democrats. And I think after 8 years of Trump, we will get to some sort of national reset. That's really the only thing that I can come up with that makes any sort of sense. And it's a little pie in the sky, but I think it's possible.
Well, let me ask you. That's I don't know what that is. I think it's a food service.
Keep it tight.
I use DoorDash and shortly. Okay, so the election happens. You're shocked. Biden has won. They said it was fraud. All this happens, and Biden has won, and Trump resigns or whatever. So whatever, I don't know. Pence can pardon him federally, so he's out of that murk, or whatever happens, or he goes out screaming and tells his base to, uprising of anger. What do you think happens if Biden is president?
I think I don't think Biden is going to win, but I think if Biden wins, I think oddly we're in a much worse position, because if Biden wins, a lot of what we're seeing in the chaos.
He's a kind man and he's a good man.
I don't think Biden is a bad man. I
like kind, good men or women.
Look, I don't know what Biden is at this
questioning.
point. I don't know what Biden is at this point. I think it's a little unclear to him what he is at this point because he's dancing with the far left to get elected because the base is very radical.
Right.
And I don't think he truly is. I think he's an old school Democrat. I think he's whether you like him or not, he's a Bill Clinton style Democrat. He's an old school Democrat, but I don't think he has the wherewithal or the strength to stand up to the thing that's coming behind him. And I think the problem is that if he wins, the bad forces of the left that are burning down cities, and by the way, they're all Democrat-run cities.
I know. I hear that from the president every day.
But Bob, it's true.
But he's supposed to be talking to the governors instead. Why can't there be a meeting with Trump and every governor in this country and have an open forum and have a discussion of how to save this country and not go, it's the Democrats? I mean, I know.
Well, I think in a weird way, neither side wants it, right? Like both, they need each other, right? Like
they should do that.
I can't quit you, right? Like it's Brokeback Mountain. I can't quit you. They need each other. Or it's more like Batman and the Joker. I forget what the exact line is.
They need each other, but they don't want to anymore. They want to get rid of each other, and that's wrong.
But in a weird
I believe
way,
all the governors should be in a room together, and he should be there and be able to have a discussion. I don't think he can have a discussion because I think he operates more of an emperor kind of mentality, of a guy that takes over things,
I mean, honestly, from everything that I've read about him and talked to people and some people that are involved in the administration, like he brings in experts and then kind of lets them do their thing. Like that, Fauci's even saying it in the last couple of days that Trump has been what he says behind the cameras is the same things he's saying in front of the cameras. Now, you may not like those things that he's saying,
but we have contradictory Bob Woodward tapes where he said he knew more about the virus,
The deadly thing, I mean, we talked about it already, but this idea of what is your job as sort of the chief messenger of the country? I don't know. I think there's a really interesting philosophical debate there as to, do you alarm people and then everyone gets crazier? Or do you hope that you're maybe doing something that keeps people less alarmed? I'm not sure.
Dave, I believe you tell them the truth and then you act as a father, mother, grandfather of the country and calm them down. I think you give them the bad news.
Yeah, but in January, I think on January 31st, when he shut down travel from China because of coronavirus, which by the way, at that point, nobody had mentioned it in a Democratic debate. He shut down travel. And what did they say? They said he's racist. So it's like, I get it. It gets to the hindsight thing.
I was fine with that at the time because that's where it was coming from. So what is the hypocrisy if he makes them the enemy, but then you find out that every Trump hotel, all the products are from China. MAGA hats are from China. They just started making them in the U.S.
See, I don't see that as hypocrisy. I see that as he's telling you the system is messed up and he just used the system. It's the same thing as the taxes before. He's telling you the tax system is screwed up and I took advantage of it. That's very obvious. If he had done anything illegal, he'd be in jail. When they say Trump's hats are made in China, well, then he says, okay, we should have more things made here. Now, his policies related to that you may not like, and I'm not a big tariff guy, so I don't like all that stuff. But the fact that he's using the broken system is not proof that he's a hypocrite. It's proof that he's someone that sees the stupidity of the way the system
he also is
set up.
Amazingly Teflon and amazing at finding the loopholes. He hires people and fires people to find the loopholes. If they can't find them, they suck, And so the issue, and I agree with you on that, is that the system, there's no such thing as a perfect system, and we've got a screwy system that people that whatever you want to call that skill, he obviously has that skill. So when he makes hats in China and then is saying our trade deals with China are no good, well, he's actually telling you the truth. He's saying, I want people to wear my hats, right? I want people to wear my hats. So what do? I buy my hats cheap. And then he goes out there and he says, but our trade deals with China make no sense. And in essence, he's proving that he's right. Because if the trade deals were right, it would be cheaper to do manufacturing here. But because our trade deals are so out of whack, it's cheaper for him to do that. So that isn't if anything, you're slightly admiring his business. Well, I'm not admiring. I'm just trying to. It's an obvious thing. I don't admire people finding loopholes. They call them, white collar crime people. My objection is what feels like a non-love of humanity. That's my objection. And people go, well, you don't just vote for someone because they're kind. And I go, you know what? That's where I'm at. I don't think I can physically take another 4 years of him. But
listen, I hear you
because
on
it's going to
this,
be the same tumult for everybody. It's going to make all of his supporters angry for 4 years. It's going to make everyone on the left and all of the good people that support the ideals of Black Lives Matter feel unheard. So,
but wouldn't it be just the opposite the other way? I mean, if Biden wins,
I think Biden's a lot more conservative than people think. I don't, people say, lay out your plan. He gave some plans recently, and they sounded great to me. And even Fox News said, well, that was pretty good, except when he gave a total miscalculation on numbers of deaths. That's not good.
It was something like 350 million deaths. I think he might have been off by a zero at least.
Well, it was, I don't know what it was, but it was, I think it was only 7 cases, but I don't know what the truth is. We don't know what the truth is, but we both stand for the same thing. And, I was reading, what Superman was about. Didn't you bring up Superman?
Is Superman in there? I know I got a whole bunch of Star Wars references in there. Can you get this to a Star Wars thing for me?
Yeah. How would Obi-Wan Kenobi look at this?
Obi-Wan would be doing the thing that he did, which is moving to Tatooine, not talking to anybody, and then waiting around for some younger person to fix it.
So who could solve this from Star Wars? Yoda? Is Yoda going to get up there and speak?
No, Yoda would be hated by everybody, although he would get some credit because of his strange way of speaking. They would say that that's an oppression of some kind. And he was dealing with the oppression of the Sith. Who fixes it from Star Wars? I don't know. The guy who fixes it from Star Wars, man. Yoda had the right idea. Just go to Dagobah. Nobody knows where you are. Live in the swamp, eat little swamp food, and go mad by yourself.
But isn't Biden just Anakin Skywalker before he turns into Darth Vader, and then Trump is Darth Vader?
Oh, God. This doesn't end well.
So it's the same person? It's basically the same person?
This doesn't end well, Bob.
Yes, it does. We both believe in truth, justice, and the American way. And that's damn Superman. And
there's Superman.
And, I don't know. I do love this country, and I do love people, and I know you do. You're very accessible. You talk to anybody, unless they're weird.
I don't talk to weird people. That's where I draw the line.
Yeah,
I will not talk to a weirdo.
I move really quickly. I've been known to say, get in the car. And not in a bad way. not driving past. Not driving past a junior high.
Have you been doing this with a handheld the entire time?
Yeah, because I got good podcast recording quality.
Yeah, no, you are a true comedian. When I do all my public speaking, I always ask. They always want to put like a headset on or a lab.
Some
or
people
something.
do that. I look at Ricky Gervais, and he's one of the few people that pulls it off. Robin Williams, God bless him, always.
Robin used to do it.
Pulled it off. He was able to, but he needed his body. And Ricky wants to just talk to people. He doesn't believe in, and he's a force. Damn it, he's a real force of nature. And his show. Afterlife is incredibly good. So
we watched an episode of it during lockdown, and I said to David when it was over, I was like, look, I know that show is good, but I just can't deal with the depressing stuff right now, because I do feel a little bit of what you feel. I was just like, if we're going to watch something, I want to watch either sci-fi, which is an escape usually, or I want to watch something that's just either purely funny or ridiculous, or I like nature shows or cooking shows. You
like nature shows.
I like nature shows.
You see how the sparrow picks up a worm and stuff?
Oh, it's incredible. Or the way, I know you know all about what the penguin does.
Yeah. And then what about the crane? The crane out in the swamp.
They're doing something. They got that big neck.
Big neck, and they peck at the water.
Yeah, it's a whole situation.
I sure do.
Maybe when the zoo opens, the 4 of us will go to the zoo. I
hate zoos because I don't like to see animals like that. Although the San Diego Zoo is the most tolerable because they have moats, but they make it so the animals are a little bit more free.
Have you been to Safari Park over there?
I
No,
can't.
you'll dig it. You'll dig it. The safari park. It's not San Diego Zoo itself. It's a few miles away.
Well, there used to be
basically
Lion Country Safari there. That was there. They closed that down because of a Tiger King type of stuff going on. You know.
I'm sure they had their reasons.
Carol Baskin, who probably killed her husband, is on Dancing with the Stars. So it is the end of civilization. Dave, I love you. And,
I love you, Bob.
And I'm glad we had a nice short podcast discussion. I'm sorry I interrupted you so many times, but
No.
But I'm an inquisitive mind,
I look forward to coming over and sitting outside from the distance and just staring at each other until one of us implodes.
I think we're coming to your house after the ashes have fallen from California.
You do realize, for the record, you were the first people that we invited over. I said, who are going to be the first people there? It's going to be Bob and Kelly. And then I called you. It was literally 118 degrees outside.
Right. And I was like,
you were like, no.
Dave, have you not opened your door?
You were like, Dave, this is not the right day to barbecue and sit outside as the ash is falling and it's 118.
Which day of Armageddon do you want to hang out? Well, I just love you. Thank you for doing this. And
thank you for having me. What am I going to do for the rest of the day? I'm done talking. I used up all my words.
Well, I can't, and I interrupted, so I'll be listening to. She'll love the fact that I got all my interrupting out. So,
it's going to be a great. Oh, all right. I expect a thank you from Kelly.
She's going to be thanking you. She's. I got a pretty special wife. It's pretty amazing.
You do.
And your husband's one of the sweetest, most wonderful people on earth. And his mother is a laugh riot. She's great.
She is a good one.
Yeah. She's a good mother-in-law.
Yeah, she is a good one. Actually, she's been here for a few days now, and it's more like having a friend than a mother-in-law here, which is kind of nice.
Look how nice that is. And I love Kelly's family, and I wish I could see them, but I'm not flying to Chicago and staying in a hotel. Kelly did it for work and got to see her family and her niece, but I'm just not there yet. But I am going to be I'm going to the Dave Chappelle comedy thing because it's completely safe the way it's done, COVID testing constantly. And I love the COVID testing. My whole thing is, you just have to you don't have to put it up your nose. You put it in your butt and then you smell it. And if you can smell it, you don't have COVID. But people say you can get it and not lose your sense of taste or smell. So I don't know. But I wish you health and continue doing what you're doing because you're wonderful.
I look forward to seeing you in real life instead of through these electronic devices.
If the ash is gone, maybe this weekend, but I don't think the ash will be gone, unfortunately. So
after the fires,
and everybody should get Don't Burn This Book, and everybody should check out the Rubin Report because you're very valuable, and it's a wonderful to hear a different voice that doesn't talk 3 times faster than anyone else. And
Thank you, Bobby.
And arrange dinners with those people that talk too fast so I can hear them talk slow. It'll calm me down.
I will have Shapiro and Tucker at a table within weeks.
Tucker, maybe we set him at the kids' table. No, but Candace Owens, you said, before she goes into labor.
I'm going to make it happen.
God, if I go to dinner with Tucker, well, I'll just be honest.
I know you will.
He thinks I'm funny. That's the weird part is some people that I can't watch them on the news are fans of mine, which, oh my, what a world. Let's try to heal it the next few years.
I have nothing better to do, literally. I'm going to go hang with my mother-in-law.
Give her my best. And by that, you know what I'm saying.
Whoa.
Come on, you can still do it.
I'm out of that game, Bob.
Doesn't matter. You throw one to the mother-in-law. People do it in movies all the time. It'd be like a Wes Anderson film with filth in it.
Oh,
sorry. Okay, that'll be the clip we use.
Goodbye.
Bye. Thanks, Dave. So that's my friend Dave Rubin, and he's a great guy. See, I mean, you can have any viewpoint, but if you can talk with the other person, that's the key. If you can actually have an honest discourse and not be hating each other, because we have to somehow come together. or this ain't going to work. We're not going to get through this. 2020 is going to last too long. We don't want that. We don't want it to go into 2021, 2022. We want there to be change. We want it to be positive, and we need people to not be at each other. I mean, peace, love, and understanding are right now kind of out the window. So we gotta get them inside and close the window so we can. That's the greatest metaphor, Bob. Anyway, Dave Rubin, the Rubin Report, his book. Don't burn this book. I'm holding it up for Zoom to see it backwards. It's got Post-its all over it. Didn't really cover any of it because why? But this will be a very long podcast if that happens. I think it is. We don't know. Sometimes we edit these things to cut it down a little bit if I say something stupid. Or in this case, Dave's screen froze for a while. So we had to wait. And that's what you do. That's show business, right? Right, Bob. We're all in show business. Anyway, sending you guys all my best. Rate, review, subscribe, follow. Give me good points, 5 stars like Michelin. Don't say negative stuff. It's too painful. I mean, say whatever you want. It's freedom of speech. What the hell? We'll delete it. No, we don't. We try to keep up the good stuff, unless it's hate speech. I don't like that. It's fun reporting hate speech. It's not. Cyberbullying, that's something I don't want to know about. Anyway, that's this episode. And there's a phone number up there. Call that number, leave a message. And on days that I put on Twitter or Instagram stories, I'll tell you when I'm going to call you guys. And I would love to talk to you. And it always just makes me feel good. I get so much out of it, and I hope people do as well. And maybe cheer people up when they're feeling quarantined or not feeling quarantined and just want to share what's going on. So everybody out there, you take care of yourselves. Sending you all my very, very best. And I would say I'm here for you, but that would sound just stupid. But I am. I mean, where am I going? I got a light switch and a mirror. If you look at the YouTube video, maybe I should change my background and do it in my office. This is just so comfortable. It's kind of become my place. All right, enough about me. How are you doing? Okay, on the next episode. Take care, everybody. Okay, I've talked about this thing before, and I like this thing. This is something I like. It's Policy Genius. You might know about it. You might not. Well, I'm going to tell you a few things. September is National Life Insurance Awareness Month. But with everything going on right now, a lot of people aren't even aware if it's possible to buy life insurance at all. Well, the good news is that it's still easy to shop for life insurance right now. And if you have loved ones depending on your income, which you probably do, you probably should. Right now, you could save $1,500 or more a year by using Policy Genius to compare life insurance policies. When you're shopping for a policy that could last for a decade or more, those savings really start to add up. All right, what is Policy Genius? You asked. I know you did. I hear you. I'll tell you what it is. Policy Genius, it's an insurance marketplace. It's built and backed by a team of industry experts. All right? Policy Genius is an insurance marketplace built and backed by a team of industry experts. Here's how it works. Step 1, head to policygenius.com. It's pretty simple, policygenius.com. In minutes, you can work out how much coverage you need and compare quotes from top insurers to find your best price. Step 2, apply for your lowest price. That's what a lot of us do, right? Step 3, the Policy Genius team will handle all the paperwork and red tape. There's red tape everywhere. I've got it all over my house, but that's a different story. Policy Genius works for you, not the insurance company. So if you hit any speed bumps during the application process, they'll take care of everything. They even have policies which allow eligible customers to skip the in-person medical exam and do it over the phone. That kind of service has earned Policy Genius a 5-star rating across over 1,600 reviews on Trustpilot and Google. So if you need life insurance, head to policygenius.com right now to get started. Right now. Why wait? You got a computer near you. You could save $1,500 or more a year by comparing quotes on their marketplace. Policy Genius. When it comes to insurance, it's nice to get it right.